For your ears only for the week of October 27th, I'm David Alpern.
I'm Eddie Robinson.
When was the integrated system tested?
We didn't see the full kind of integrated end-to-end system testing that you're talking about.
Why not?
Until the couple of days leading up to the launch.
Shouldn't we have had that?
Ideally, yes.
Once again, here we have my Republican colleagues trying to scare everybody.
Will the gentleman yield?
No, I will not yield to this monkey court.
Obviously, just because something is smart and fair and good for the economy and fiscally responsible and supported by business and labor and the evangelical community and many Democrats and many Republicans, that does not mean that it will actually get done. This is Washington, after all.
After being trashed in the polls for shutting down the government to stop Obamacare, Republicans last week shifted gears. In a congressional hearing, they trashed the administration for a disastrous launch of the program's critical insurance exchanges, as we heard in an exchange between Illinois Congressman John Shimkus and one of the many contractors involved. House Democrat Frank Pallone of New Jersey saw it all as further undermining health care reform. But President Obama, after declaring himself as frustrated as anyone, shifted gears, too, to a revived but still uphill campaign for immigration reform.
And Obama had a heap of other new challenges to deal with. There was outrage by European leaders over leaks indicating that the NSA was monitoring their private cell phone calls, renewed pressure by Pakistan to end drone strikes after new reports of civilian deaths in the hundreds, and a winding split with Saudi Arabia and Turkey over U.S. backing away from threatened escalation of military action against the Assad regime in Syria. To survey the problems, foreign and domestic, and the political fallout, we're joined again by TV commentator Eleanor Clift, also a contributor at thedailybeast.com. Welcome back to the program.
Glad to be with you. Hi.
Did politics delay or limit testing the insurance exchanges to clear last year's election?
Well, I think politics may have entered it in the sense that the administration felt that if it had announced any kind of delay in order to do more testing of the site, that critics would have jumped on that as evidence that the program itself was faulty. So, but I don't, and I do think they shut down one option on the site, which is to allow you to browse and check out various policies, because most of the people who will get insurance from the exchanges will qualify for federal subsidies, and so they would end up paying less than what they would immediately see. And so the fact that they shut down that option initially is being treated as a political decision.
Is there good reason to believe that the administration can solve the failures of the insurance exchanges by the end of November as promised? And if they persist, do you see Obama agreeing that facts require the kind of delays that conservatives had been demanding during the shutdown?
Well, I think, as the administration points out, we're 3 weeks into a 6-month open enrollment period before anybody would be penalized for not having health insurance. And so the assumption is that the site is going to be up and running well before the end of that period. And they brought in Jeffrey Seintz, who's a kind of a business process management guru, and he did a phone conversation with reporters on Friday, and he said that the healthcare site is fixable, and he basically set a deadline of the end of November for getting the site up and running smoothly. And he said that 90% of people are now getting through, and that's compared to only 30% in the first days.
Do you believe Health and Human Services Secretary Kathleen Sebelius that the president was not made aware of the problems with Obamacare earlier? Should he have been?
I mean, they did warn that there would be some glitches. They knew that, but obviously the problems were greater than they anticipated, and I think Sebelius bears some blame for not having designated someone to really ride herd on the people developing the 50-some-odd contractors developing the site. And the White House deserves some blame, too, for not designating someone who would really watch out for the president's signature proposal. I think it's probably too much to think that this president personally would be overseeing the development of code, but I think it does go to a legitimate concern with his leadership style.
To what degree do you think the early problems with Obamacare will erase the stigma that Republicans in general and the Tea Party in particular now carry for trying to block it with a government shutdown? Maybe in the end boost a Ted Cruz presidential drive?
Yeah, I think Ted Cruz is saying, "I told you so." We really needed to stop this. But again, if things are working by the end of November and people are signing up, I think it's going to be more remembered by the American people, the shutting down of government, than early glitches in Obamacare.
Do you sense that more moderate GOP funders will follow through on their plans to back more mainstream Republicans against conservative incumbents?
You are beginning to see this civil war within the party being fought more openly, with mainstream Republicans taking a more aggressive stand than just sort of cowering in the corner, afraid of Tea Party challenges. So that's going to be fascinating to watch next year as the primary season gets underway, because virtually every incumbent Republican who's considered a moderate is facing a challenge from somebody on his or her right.
More immediately, what prospects do you see for immigration reform, which still divides many Republicans, though it could help them with the growing Hispanic vote?
Well, you had a wonderful soundbite from the president about all the support that immigration reform gets. You would think it would be a slam dunk. You have the Chamber of Commerce aligned with organized labor supporting it. Next week there will be evangelicals in Washington lobbying for the program. Republican donors are withholding contributions to members in the House who are blocking immigration reform. And yet we're back in the same place we were on the whole government shutdown fiasco, where you have, some 30 or 40 House Republicans who come from districts where they're not threatened by a growing Hispanic vote, and they oppose immigration reform. And will John Boehner, the Speaker, listen to them, or will the more mainstream Republicans make their desires known and force the Speaker to take up immigration reform? So I think it's an open question, and I think because this has been such a dismal fall in terms of poll ratings for Republicans, they may want to have something to take home for Christmas to show their constituents that government can indeed work. So I think there's a chance this could be taken up before the end of the year.
Do you think the complaints of overseas leaders, a big stop watching us rally in Washington this weekend, and bipartisan congressional concern will actually win further restrictions on NSA communication surveillance?
Oh, yes. I mean, I think the NSA and how it operates is already under review at the White House. The current head, Army General Keith Patrick, has said he'll be stepping down early next year. And, while this is not new that even friendly governments spy on each other, this has reached a new dimension in this technological age. And I think the administration is going to have to rewrite some rules or find some new ones.
TV commentator Eleanor Clift is also a contributor at thedailybeast.com.
Quote from the news, there's much that states can do and perhaps even more that local governments can do. That was Mary Nichols of the California Air Resources Board after her state, New York, and 6 others announced a range of measures to encourage sales of electric and fuel cell cars.
Next, Yours, Arthur. The letters of historian and JFK insider Arthur Schlesinger, for your ears only.